Hey everyone! Welcome to another episode of the podcast.
Today we are joined by our good friend and number one fan of our podcast, Eliot!
Woo!
Yay!
Hi, Eliot!
Hi, Eliot!
Hello. I'm sorry I hit the mic if someone...
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. We all make mistakes. Before we get started, Catherine, how was your week?
My week was good. I am over here visiting Josh for the weekend. We did some fun stuff. We went to the night market yesterday.
Which is open.
The opening weekend. It wasn't as busy
Oh,
as I thought it would be.
Yeah.
I finally got to try stinky tofu. That was like the main reason I wanted to go. Was like, I need to try stinky tofu. It was delicious.
Funny enough is that we went to a place and they didn't have it.
Yeah.
And she was devastated.
I was sad.
So, because we thought it was only that one place, and then we found it somewhere else.
Oh. Was there several tents open yet, or is there still...
No, I think they're all open.
They're all open. It's actually filled up already.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good to
So
know.
when we got there at what, 5:30?
We were early. We were on it.
But like when we got inside, it wasn't that busy, which was so nice.
Yeah.
And it was funny enough because there was a group of like two families in front of us who were like, "Oh, I'm here for the stinky tofu," and so I ended up like finding a stinky poke face and sitting down eating, and they showed up and they're like, "Stinky tofu!" We're like, "You found it too!"
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, it was good. What else did we get? We got the rotato.
Classic.
There was like a crab, like a square crab spring roll thing.
Yeah.
That was delicious.
So interesting. I've never seen that.
Yeah.
It was really good. Yeah.
We got the milk cha.
It's like
You know, the one that had like, it's like the cup that's divided into two.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was delicious.
And then I think that's about it.
Oh, and then the rolled gelato.
Oh,
like,
yeah. That was really intriguing.
Yeah.
It was nice because I think because maybe it was opening week. I thought it was gonna be busier, honestly,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't like super crowded to the point where I was like super scared of Sister Rona. You know what I mean? So
Miss Rona.
it felt kind of. We were talking about how it felt kind of nice. It felt kind of normal
Yeah.
and like just a more normal thing to do. Everyone was outside. Some people were masks, whatever.
Yeah.
That was really
But it was
fun.
nice.
I think you guys went at a good time. Usually when I've been to night markets, like early on, not all the tents are actually all set up. So the fact that you got it all set it up, that's actually really good.
Huh.
And usually the first week is not that busy. You are correct.
Yeah.
Because people are still in school or they're still busy with work. It's not the summer. It's not warm. People don't have an inking feeling to go out there. It's just like that.
I wonder if like because we saw that most things were open and it was actually not that crowded in terms of tents. So maybe there are things that are going to be added on.
Oh my
maybe,
gosh. It's going to get so much more crowded.
There was a lot of food already. We did complain that everything seems so expensive.
Oh,
It
yes.
is.
Oh, yes.
The rotato was like $9.
It was $9.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Did you guys use the coupon book?
Yes.
Yes, and you want to share about the app?
Oh my god. Okay, so the night market has this app they were advertising called Hello Chat that you can use. Like you scan a QR code and you can use it to pay. It was the most annoying thing ever. Like we were trying to set it up in line, like add a credit card and stuff. We're like, okay, we got it. And I tried and it didn't work. So then we were trying to figure out how to actually like pay with it, and there were like 3 other options. You could transfer money, or you could
E-transfer money to your like Hello Chat account.
Yeah. And so I tried that. I transferred over $20 and they're like, oh yeah, it'll take like 1 to 2 hours. And first of all, I was like, what? I'm going to be done by the time that's her. And to this moment, I don't think it's in my app anymore.
Oh, my gosh.
Like,
But
it's still 0.
But I did it and I got my money.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
But I think Catherine was saying how I think it's brand new because they had a booth, which we got free.
Oh, yeah.
Free. It's right there. Free knockoff AirPods.
I thought
all
those
you
were
had to-
AirPods.
All you had to do was like rate them 5 stars on the App Store, and they were like, here you go.
Yeah.
It's that Amazon scheme.
And so like I let Catherine try because she has AirPods. She said it was pretty good.
Pretty decent.
Yeah, I bet they are for now. And after that, it just depends how long they last. That's always the question.
So I connected it to my phone and it says AirPods.
Maybe the Apple technology.
I don't know if we should be sharing
But then
this
you said, you know how
information.
there's a voice when you connect it? You said the voice so it had
was
like
an
a
Asian
Chinese
lady.
accent.
It wasn't like
Oh, it was like, hi. It was like, hi.
and I was like connected. Like I was like, oh. But yeah, so now I have my i12s. I'm really proud of my i12s.
Yeah.
What else fun?
Eliot, how was your week?
My week has been pretty good. So I have a week off from school, and I was working, but I was able to at least spend some time outside of work and visit some of the people in Pennisport at our church. Josh has mentioned that before in the past. He's joined Pennisport. Yeah, I also saw him play in basketball too.
He can vouch. He can vouch that I'm athletic, kind of.
Yes,
Thank
I
you.
can vouch that. I told him a couple of things he was able to pull it off right on the spot, so that's already pretty good. I don't know who has not told you you're athletic, but you are.
Honestly, it's just me. I'm just like, I don't think I'm athletic, and everyone's like, you're good. I'm like, okay.
Other than that, my week has been pretty decent. It's very relaxing. I'm kind of worried about going back to school in the next 2 days because I feel like I've lost all my motivation, all my study habits. So I'm just like, I gotta redo it again, and probably I won't get it back until I have a really stressful moment, and it'll kick back in. But yeah, that's mostly been my week. Been pretty relaxing, but at least a lot of hard work involved as well. How's your week, Josh?
How was my week? What happened this week? I think it's pretty chill. Oh, wait, my parents visited me for 4 days. So that was really nice. My dad doesn't really take time off ever. So the fact that he came over for a couple of days was really nice. And we actually met up with like my mom and dad's university, high school friends. And so it was really nice to see my dad like actually laugh and like make jokes. And I guess because he's a pastor, you know what I mean? It's probably harder with the people in Victoria. No offense to you, uncles and aunties, but I think it was just so nice for him just to be so like free, as if I was talking to my friends, you know. And so that was really cool, and to hear their stories and them telling me stories of what they did when they were younger, and so that was really cool. My mom came because she's not feeling the best after she got shingles, so she saw like a Chinese doctor, but thankfully she's feeling better apparently. So that's a good sign. And then I had parent-teacher interviews this week. And funny enough, so usually when I go to work, I usually wear like, you know, black pants and then like a button-up shirt and like a cardigan or a jacket or something. But on Thursday, I had my first set of meetings, and I came out of my room all dressed up, and Mom was like, "You're going like that?" And I was like, "Fine, Mom." So I went to get changed. I changed to like a white button-up with a black blazer, like a suit jacket. And she's like, "Okay, that's better." So I go to school, and the students in front of the parents were like, "Mr. Poon, why are you dressed up today?" And I was like, "Don't call me out like that in front of your
Exposing you.
So then next day, did the same thing, but I wore like all black and like a green, sage greenish blazer, and same thing. All the students had the same thing to say, and I was like, okay, they're really just calling me out that I don't really dress up for work.
I thought you were like voted as the most fashionable teacher.
I think because of my Instagram. But like I do dress up once in a while for work, but it's very like the basics, you know, the basic fashion things. But yeah. So that was my week, and then Catherine has come over, and I think I'm very socially drained. I can feel it.
Is it too much social?
I think so. Because like I think about usually after work, I just like go home and just chill. Yeah. But then because my parents were here, I had to talk to them and chauffeur them everywhere and all that stuff. Sure. And then parent-teacher interviews, and then hang out with Catherine's fun because we're close. But like other than that, it's like yeah.
And I'm just like.
Introverts need their time to just like chill.
I know, right? I played one game of Valorant last night. Catherine saw me screaming. That was my only relaxing time.
Oh my goodness! You need to tell the part when I visited you last time, and you were playing Valorant before dinner, and then there was a slight comeback. I was concerned we're never gonna eat dinner.
So Eliot was like, so I'm like, hey Eliot, is it okay if I play one game? He said, yeah, sure. And so this is like you said we would eat dinner around like 5:30, I think, and it was like 5:30, and I was like maybe halfway through the game, and Eliot's like, hey, are we gonna get dinner? I'm like, okay, we're gonna get dinner. Let me finish this game. But it just kept going on and on and on, and Eliot was just sitting beside me being like, okay, it's time to get dinner.
I was like, Josh,
he's like, I'm hungry.
Yeah, Josh, there's a comeback coming. Like, when are we gonna eat dinner? I don't think we're going. There's a comeback on the other team.
Because we're doing so well, and then the other team just started catching up, and Eliot was just like, okay.
I'm like, Josh, this is game point. Don't do this to me, man. I gotta eat.
I think we won though. I think at the end
you did win.
It was so funny. Christina was visiting me, I think, a couple weeks ago, and she just watched me play, and me just like freaking out and like trying to win. I'm not that great at shooter games, so.
No, you did pretty decently, and like you were explaining the game to me at the same time.
Oh,
so, like,
he's so nice. He's a good guest. He can stay. Before we get into our topics today, I think it'll be cool for Eliot to kind of share a little bit about yourself, and then we can talk a little bit about how we all kind of met each other. So.
Sure. So my name is Eliot Tang. As you can tell, I'm ethnically Asian. That's why we're doing RiceWashed. My mom is Taiwanese. My dad is Chinese, but born in the Philippines. So there is some Filipino culture technically in me as well.
My
But
people.
like
people.
I'm technically Chinese, and I don't really connect with my Filipino side because I don't really talk to my dad's side as much. Actually, it's a bit of a story, but basically, like, yeah, my dad doesn't talk to his side really that much. And yeah, I'm more connected with my Taiwanese roots, but I am born in Canada, so I identify more as a Canadian, born Chinese, as they say, CBC. What else? Yes, I was born and raised in Vancouver. I grew up as a city boy. Went to David Lloyd George as my elementary school. Close by, within like a 5-minute drive, is Sir Winston Churchill Secondary. That's the high school I went to. Then I went to UVic. I met this fellow here, and I think I met this mate.
Wait, fella.
Fella? I don't know what's the female version of fellow. I was just like, uh-oh. But yeah, through Josh as well at choir. I think that's how I met. I think I met Josh. Like, I've seen him at church a couple of times, but I met him in class. It was a music education course.
Yeah.
It was extracurricular course for me, and it was not necessary for me to take it, but I did it because I wanted an easy A.
Was it easy though?
Easy enough for me.
Oh, okay. I was like, it's like a decent amount of work.
Compared to like a lot of work, but at least like it was like easy to do somewhat.
Well, because you had a music background, so that did help a lot.
Yeah, it did help a lot. And then, yes, I met Catherine through choir, and that's where I met a lot of Josh's friends as well. And yeah, that's basically how I met both of you. I don't really remember, like Catherine and I were just discussing, like we don't remember
really
how we really
remember.
met, but I do remember meeting at choir at least.
It's actually funny because that's kind of how Eliot, Bonnie, and I got closer too. Was because of church, right?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
you knew Bonnie before or after you came to Victoria?
After, because I met Bonnie through Susan.
Oh, okay.
Because like Susan specifically introduced me to. I think she was going to introduce me to Calvin at first, but like, yeah, a little messy. But basically, like, it was. I met Bonnie first actually, and then that's how I grew closer to her, just basically through church.
Yeah.
And then Calvin at the time was not really going to church at that time just yet.
And then after when you met Bonnie, Bonnie started going to ECBC things, not ECBC, but like gatherings.
I introduced her to Ultimate,
it was
so that's how
you.
she came to
Okay.
our church. Because I found out she came from Surrey. I was like, oh, you can come by our church, and because we play Ultimate, I figured you'd love to play Ultimate, so we can have you as a teammate this summer. I don't remember what year, and I introduced her to my fellow ECBC people, and that's how we connect. And that's also how I introduced Josh to ECBC as well.
Wow.
Basically, Ultimate as well.
Bringing everyone together.
Through Ultimate.
Through Ultimate.
Yeah, through Ultimate.
Through a disc.
Not through ECBC or church or God. Sorry.
God was there.
Sorry, God.
It's actually funny because I remember Ellie was saying this earlier, but you came to our church and I knew he existed, like this person, like this new person named Eliot, because you didn't come after for a bit. I remember that, right?
That's correct.
And so then we were in the same class, and I was like, "What the heck?" And he's like, "What? It's you? You're from?" And then he didn't know I was related to my brothers.
No, because as you've mentioned before, you don't look like your brothers.
We don't.
Sometimes people don't see that, and I didn't see that at first.
So you knew Matt, right?
I knew
You knew
Matt.
my brother Matt.
Yeah, I knew Matt, but I didn't know Silas and Daniel were related to you at all.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if I knew Silas or Daniel at that time.
No.
Yeah,
No,
but
I think it was the Matthew situation where it's like, oh yeah, Matthew's brother. He's like, what?
Yeah, Matthew brothers. Yeah, I remember that. But I didn't know. I've never met formally the other two
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
And then we went to the class together, and then you started coming back to our church later on, I think. Right? Yeah.
That's correct.
And that's how we all met. Wow.
Wow.
Friendship.
That was a while ago, too.
Yes, that would have been in like 2014, 13 around that time.
Probably.
So
13 probably.
2013 was my first year. But then, we met when I was in high school. Because I took my first university course in high school.
What a genius.
Yeah, I'm a genius. But then didn't get accepted to university till the last month of applications.
What a fraud.
I'm a fraud. I have a lot of salt towards that school, but also it's fine. Please don't hate me.
They'll take back your degree.
They won't. He already paid for it. It's fine.
Oh, okay. Fair. That's
But
fair.
anyways, then that's how we met, and then I think you just came back to our fellowship and stuff after too.
I did enjoy dive when I was there too. 'Cause it
Dive.
was a
Oh,
very
Dive is
different-
dive.
Dive is dead.
Diving
Aw.
too deep, it drowned.
You know that the bulletin board is still there. It just says dive.
It's just half done still.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, it's
Actually,
not that- yeah.
Oh my god.
It's still there.
In memory of us.
In memory of, actually, it was fun. It was a fun couple of years.
Mhm.
Like, I think we're all like, if we were to meet again, like just hanging out, we'd all be like, "Hey, how's it going?"
That would
Like,
be
checking
really
up on each
fun.
other and whatnot, right?
Mhm.
So,
Hi guys, it's Catherine. Make sure to check us out on our social medias. We are on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at RiceWashed Podcast. We would love for you to subscribe and share so we can get our content out to more people. Let's grow the RiceWashed family.
okay, so today, our favorite topic, just generally this trauma, but we wanted to talk a little bit about childhood because Elliot and I have had like some conversations about our childhood and how different it was, you know, for me being born and raised in Victoria versus Elliot being born and raised here. So they kind of already know a little bit about Catherine and I. So why don't you share a little bit about yours and we can just discuss and talk about.
Okay,
that
so yes, so as I already previously mentioned, that I was born and raised in Vancouver. So of course I was surrounded by several Asians, and I never knew that. I guess like Caucasian people or white people were the majority of Canada until I really went to Victoria.
Oh.
It's weird.
Yeah.
It's a weird concept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I never expected that difference, but like I knew that it was going to be majority. I just didn't click in my head, so I think there was a culture shock when I arrived in Victoria. It was interesting too because then I really understood that I was the minority in Canada.
So interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
So another thing that was different for me than Vancouver and Victoria was that everything is so close to Victoria. As for Vancouver, it's not. Because like I live in Vancouver, central Vancouver specifically. But my church is in Burnaby, for example. And that is like a good 20 minutes drive if I follow the speed limit.
We do.
Which she always
Yes,
does.
which I do.
Yeah, we do.
Which I
All
do.
the time.
On record, I do.
Oh, please don't pull us over.
On record, I do. For the record, I do. Yes, and then also like if you even want to get to downtown Vancouver, it is still a bit of a pain. Like even if you bus, like it's still like a good 30 to 45 minutes depending on traffic. So that was something that I was not expecting. Like how I could go to like a mall or something within like 15 minutes in Victoria, and then get my groceries there. And like, I think when my last year in Victoria, I was going to Walmart for my groceries, but I had to go take another bus route and then still walk away. So that's something that was a bit of a distance, but still relatively close. So that's mainly some differences. As an only child, so that something different between, I guess, all three of us is that both of you have siblings. I do not. I'm an only child. My mom, unfortunately, had cancer when I was 2 years old. Stomach cancer, to be more precise. So she would never have the opportunity to birth another child, even if she wanted to. They were actually thinking about it at that time. But, yes. I guess another thing, too, just to talk about my connection with my family as well, real quick. My dad is, I said, Filipino-Chinese. They met actually through a pen pal, actually. So, like, they met through a pastor.
That's so cute.
Cool.
Yeah, so they met through a pastor. Like, my mom was in Vancouver, and her pastor at that time basically introduced my dad somehow, and they started writing out to each other. So I remember you guys talking about pen pals before. That's actually
That's
how we-
really cute.
Was it you who talked about it, or was it Rosanna?
I don't remember.
I can't remember.
I don't remember. There was one episode that talked
That's
about.
really cute.
Yeah, and then eventually, they met, and then after meeting within 3 days, they got engaged.
Wow.
It was like because they had a serious
So
conversation.
how long were they writing back and forth?
Oh, I don't remember this. This was like a good solid year or two at
Mhm.
least.
Okay.
Like it wasn't like, okay,
Aw.
less than a year, boom, I'm in Philippines. Let me ask for your marriage. No.
So is this why I'm single? I haven't found my pen pal.
You just have to write to
I
someone.
just need to write to someone
Yeah.
across
Yeah.
the country.
So the way we connect is that we speak English and mainly Hokkien or Fujian and Taiwanese. So that's like a dialect of Mandarin. Just how Cantonese is a dialect as well. It's mainly speaking from like Fujian people because that's like where some Chinese people originated from to go to the Philippines and Taiwan. So that's why it's a connecting dialect. Actually, it's different. There is a difference between Fujian and also or Hokkien and Taiwanese, but like
Wait. Can you like say like a phrase and see if like for cat? I don't know. Maybe it's similar. You know what I mean? In many terms of
Tagalog is very different.
is it very
I
different?
was
Yeah.
gonna say it doesn't sound.
No, it's very different because like it
Oh.
originates from Mandarin, right?
Oh,
so
okay.
like what would be a simple
And,
line?
like Tagalog is more like Spanish.
Yeah,
Mm.
Latin is what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Because like my dad does speak it
Mm-hmm.
as well, but like it's very different than Mandarin and Taiwanese. And
Mm-hmm.
okay.
So interesting.
Yeah.
One thing you mentioned how everything in Victoria is so close. I remember like coming here and being like, "What? I need to drive 20 minutes to get somewhere."
That's what I think when I come here. I'm like, why is everything so far?
Yeah, and the funny thing is like we think Vancouver is huge already, but then like I've talked to people who come from Toronto, like everything's even further.
That's
apart,
true.
Sometimes what I've heard.
Yeah.
Like, so if we think we're big already in distance wise, it's worse somewhere else sometimes.
I remember like coming here and then going back to Victoria, and people are like, "Let's go downtown." I'm like, "Okay," like, and they're like, "That's so far." I'm like, "No, it's not." That's like
It's like 5 minutes.
that's literally my.
It is true. Like if
Yeah.
if I had a car in Victoria, it'd be so easy to access if you had a car.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Even I guess even a
Even
bike.
bus isn't bad, and bike isn't bad either.
No, busing is like extremely easy as well.
Yeah.
'Cause the only
Like,
thing is you're missing is a SkyTrain or
From my house to downtown, bus probably what 20 to 30 minutes.
Yeah, half an
yeah,
hour.
like you're basically because your house is like almost the same distance like coming from UVic to going to downtown because like you just take
And
the
everything went to UVic.
It's true.
Everything went to all the buses went to UVic.
Yeah.
yeah, pretty much.
So
Well, you were at least you were going to a school that was like a central area.
oh yeah, and the bus stopped in front of my house.
Oh right, that's true.
Literally, like.
I remember like one time I was going to your house. I think to practice with your brother Matt, because I had a project that was involving me to play violin and he was playing piano for me, and I got off the stop too early, but I was too embarrassed to say, "Oh, keep going." So I had to walk like an extra block or something like that. I was like, "Ah, I regret this." I was carrying a violin too, so I was just like,
So yeah, so like this is my house here. The bus stop literally is just to my house, and then you just go across the street and take the bus to school.
It's so nice.
It's actually really
Yeah.
convenient. And I tell my parents that they should totally, if they like moving to like a smaller place or whatever, they should just rent it out because that'd be a really good location.
Do you have a kitchen downstairs? I remember this.
We did. So
okay.
when we were younger, we had tenants, and then when we got older, we wanted our own rooms. So yeah, because there was 4 of us, and there's 5 bedrooms. Yeah.
Sorry, but going back to the only child thing, I think like traumatically or like something I've had to deal with is that I had to deal with a lot of things by myself. Like I have a decent relationship with my mom and dad, where I'm able to be open with them. It's better now than what it was, but there were times when like I was really frustrated and I couldn't talk to anyone because I didn't grow up with friends. I was put in an environment where like my parents wanted me to succeed, which I love them for. However, like it also didn't allow me to have like social interaction as well. So like the sad thing for me was that I'd had school, but I would have a tutoring session right after. So either I would have like swimming lessons, for example, I would have piano lessons, sometimes violin when I got a little bit older in elementary school. I think there was math as well, which also led to like calculus and chemistry as well, and Chinese school. That's another thing.
You're
too.
busy.
Yeah, I was quite busy. Yeah, I was quite busy. So like, I think my parents were allowing me to like have a lot of skills, but like it had to sacrifice something. That's the thing, right? So, because like usually people would meet after school and then they go back home for dinner. I assume that's how most interactions went.
Yeah.
But I didn't have that because I would have all those tutorings before then, and then have dinner. So of course I was like dead tired, like having like basically school for like
And
what?
homework.
Oh yeah, that too.
the
Yeah,
heck?
that's another thing we can get into, and then practicing piano as well. There's that too.
Wait, question. How many hours did you have to practice on each instrument?
So I was lazy. I'm gonna be honest. But because I knew I was decently talented, that I knew I could get away with not practicing as much. So if I were to put a number for practice, if it's a day, it's maybe like 1 hour or 1 hour and a half the most.
Is that-
Combined or is it
In one day. So that could be like for 5 days maybe. So that could be like maybe 5 to 8 hours, depending on like.
Is that not a lot compared
No,
to
it's
other
not.
people?
No.
Oh,
No. Like there are people that
really?
practice like 3 hours,
Oh my gosh.
like straight.
Wow.
That's like watching 2 K-drama episodes.
Is that 3? Because K-drama is 1 hour, or is it 1 hour and a half?
Usually it's an hour, 20 minutes.
Oh, it is. Wow, that is
Yeah.
2. That is 2
Wow.
episodes.
So I actually relate to you a bit because I mean I didn't have a lot of tutoring outside of school because one, we couldn't afford it. 2, my parents like just basically made us go home and do our homework. And did you ever do those like workbook lists, like English book
Yes,
lists?
I did.
Did you do it too?
I did.
Oh. Anyways, but I remember like as a child, although I remember it kind of being pretty happy. I remember we didn't have the time to do anything. So like we didn't get to hang out with people. We didn't get to go to playgrounds or parks or beaches. We did a lot of like I practiced piano 2 hours a day, and then had to do all my homework and all those little books. But we didn't get. I mean, I didn't have to do like math tutoring, English tutoring, and stuff. But
Yeah, I think like
not
another
fun.
thing too, that your hours probably went up for practicing piano or an instrument when you were closer to the exam time. I assume, right? So that was something. I don't know, Catherine. Do you play an instrument? I don't remember that.
I played piano for like a year when I was 5, and then I was like, no.
Yeah. Okay.
But my mom never forced me to play. So.
Okay. Yeah. It really depends on the household, of course,
Mhm.
and like what they value as well. Like, what is your family like value in terms of like education wise? Like,
They were not very like strict on that stuff. They were actually very like hands off.
Oh.
Yeah. So it was just like, yeah, just as long as you pass and work hard, then they're fine with it. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely not traditionalist of like
Yeah.
yeah.
being strict of you need to get A's.
Right.
You know, I feel like you, like out of the spectrum of the 3 of us, you had the most strict than us 3 because
You know,
that's
I'll
what I
let
feel
you start.
anyways. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're right in that sense. But my parents weren't that hard on me on grades because they weren't like above average or like geniuses themselves. So they acknowledged that I would struggle in my own ways, and that's the reason why they also gave me tutoring in like life skills because like everything that they gave me was connection to something. So like swimming, for example, they wanted me to learn because they knew it was a life skill. However, there was like an incident where one of my family members, like in the past, an uncle or something like that, did pass away while he was diving. Yeah,
my goodness.
so that's why like a lot of the kids in my mom's generations were not allowed to swim because they were worried about like they made that connection, like swimming means death, so like they don't want them to learn. Yeah, so that's why my parents valued that, and same for my cousins as well, my first cousins at least. So we were able to learn that. There's just like those little connections. But yes, going back to the only child thing, like, so as I was saying, like I was constantly frustrated, I think, like feeling my life, and I didn't realize like maybe I was like borderline depressed because I didn't know how to handle things for a good chunk of my life. And there were some other things too, like I had a close friend when I was like in elementary school too, who like told basically all my schoolmates my crush, and that traumatized me to like never trust people for a while.
Oh no.
I don't remember if I've told Josh this, but like I'll share this, that for a good 3 years at least, I didn't actually experience like any form of like crushes. Like if we're talking about like liking someone like of the opposite sex, or like if you're attracted to someone, I remember like I shut it off for like a good 3 years before like it naturally occurred, I guess. But like it was just
It's because of that incident.
it was that incident. Yeah, it was such a like funny thing, like looking back on it now, but like but it's like kind of followed me all these years. Like sometimes like I have a harder time to trust people because like, one, I'm by myself. Secondly, like I don't know if my friends are actually going to be my friends. There was that too. And thirdly, because like I didn't get social interaction, I didn't know how to cope or talk to people at a point. But then similar to Josh, I'm also an introvert as well, but I'm able to like break out of my shell when I need to, and like I don't mind speaking in projects or like presentations. That's like one thing that I have something at least good for me. But the thing is, like, what's difficult for me is to open up to someone after that, because like I can get to know someone on the shallow level, but like deeper questions, I need to be with that person or some people like in a small setting. I won't do it in like a large setting where like I feel vulnerable, or I'm okay being vulnerable in that space. Yeah, so that's some of the things that I grew up with. I remember like another time too, like when I was like frustrated with my parents, or like I was having a hard time with them, I don't remember what you guys handled with like your frustrations. Like I remember seeing like a video where like some people say like acting out like, oh my god, I'm crying, and after that like I'm gonna put on this bag, I'm gonna run away from home, blah blah, blah like that. Like I've done that too. But I remember I did one where it's just like I was annoyed with my mom or dad, and the funny thing is that I decided to like set my bed, but like ferociously. I would just be like shaking my bed sheets like hard because it's like it's
What
not
else-
punching.
Like what else do you
show
do,
him.
right?
Yeah. I'm not punching something, but like I'm using my energy to get rid of my frustration.
Yeah.
But like it just sounded like me just setting my bed, so they couldn't tell.
Wait, I have a
sometimes.
question, because you were mentioning like this idea of like because you were only child, like, and if you were frustrated with your parents, like you didn't have anyone to talk to.
Yes.
My question is like for Catherine, like, because were you and your brother, like, were you too close enough to like actually talk to each other about that kind of stuff? Like,
No, we didn't actually get closer until just this past like 3 or 4 years. I can't remember what we did as a kid.
because I was mentioning or thinking that I was kind of like you, like I wasn't able to vent out my frustrations to my brothers either.
No.
Like, and actually that I remember growing up and really like being jealous of the people that were so close to their siblings and being able to tell everything to them. But like I like similar to you, I was only close to like, for example, Sas and I are only 2 years apart.
Yeah.
We only started getting close in the last like 3 years, and like actually sharing things about life and anger, frustrations.
See, I think that's like maturing. Like as somebody who doesn't have brothers or sister, I've always noticed like after the 18-year mark, which is like after high school, like usually people grow up and mature. And because usually some people will go to university, leave their household, and come back, and then they realize the relationship they're missing. Whereas when you're living in the same household for so many years, you get sick and tired of each other.
That's true.
But that's just an observant. Like I really don't know, of course. The other question I had to that was, would you vent to your siblings even though you weren't close to them?
No.
Really?
Yeah. What I would do, like, say if I was frustrated, I would just like lock myself in my room and just like give myself like, I guess, a timeout essentially until I felt better.
What's interesting is that when I was a kid and I was frustrated, I didn't know what to do because I wasn't allowed to lock myself in my room because my mom would just open the door, because they would just unlock it with the key, or like I was always surrounded by my family. So like I actually, like, as an adult, when I get frustrated, I like to be by myself. But I can actually do it now as an adult because I have my own space. But at home, I have nowhere to run. Like, I was like, going to the washroom or taking a shower was the most calm thing in my life because no one was around.
Did you take long showers?
I took long showers
Same
because
here.
of that thing.
Yeah, that's a psychological
only
study.
You take
time.
long showers?
Yeah, it's a psychological study. Like, if you take long showers, warm, hot showers, it's because, like, you're making up for, like, the warm embrace of, like, human. It means you're lonely, in other words.
The warm embrace.
The warm embrace
Of
of my
human.
water.
Yes.
Well, yeah, like, I don't remember, like, literally when I went back for, like, I don't know, spring break, Saz and I had, like, a honest conversation about our attitudes and how we treated our parents and, like actually venting about life and whatever, but we had never done that ever.
That is surprising.
Yeah.
Considering, like, Silas is my age and you're how old again? You're
2 years younger.
2 years younger.
Wait,
so you guys
wait, I always forget that you're the same
Yeah.
age.
Yeah, yes, I'm born in 93.
Oh,
Yes.
wow. Okay. Wait, but the other thing was, I remember, like, this is a trauma thing, but I remember, like, I know your parents as just your kind parents who are kind to me, whatever, but whenever I got frustrated and, like, upset, my mom would just yell at me for being frustrated.
Yes.
And then, like, but then I remember as a kid, I'm like, why can you be frustrated but I
Yeah,
can't?
my
be
mom was like that
frustrated?
as well.
I think
Yeah.
another thing that was also, like, scary for me or, like, really frustrating for me is, like, of course I did something wrong, so of course I'm not at guilt for this, but what was confusing for me was that my parents would be stern at me or, like, frustrated at me, possibly even yelling at me, but then when they go on the phone or, like, they're talking to each other, right?
It's a switch.
switch.
It's a complete, like,
Yeah,
180.
It's a switch, and you're just like, what am I deserving?
It's always like, it's like, how could you do this to me? Hey, how is it going?
It's like, way.
And I remember just being kid, just like crying, and they stop crying because they're on their phone.
Yeah.
And then they finish on their phone, and then they start crying.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I remember that switch too, and I was just like, oh, this is really confusing. Like, why do you get to be frustrated at me and I can't show that? But it's just like they're trying to teach us like to control our emotions, and like it's
And
not
then-
easy raising a child either. There's that too.
That is fair. That is very fair. However,
It's a very convoluted way.
in a complicated way. But I
Yeah.
think
So many
like
reasons.
as I grow up, I think just my mom hasn't had a chance to really learn how to process emotions, right? And so because we were upset, she didn't know how to deal with it, so she didn't want to deal with it. So then she just yelled at us to make us stop crying. But I remember like it definitely like took a toll, you know, especially, you know, you guys know my story. But like when I got really depressed, like I didn't know how to get out of it at all. Like because I was like, what do I do? I don't talk to people. Like I can't tell people, you know. So like in a way I'm glad that at least the three of us recognize that because it's like some people don't, and they grow up just like their parents, and then the next generation gets the same
Yeah.
thing.
Were you even beaten?
Was
There's
I
that-
beaten?
Yeah, beaten as a child. Like,
Okay,
for
wait.
punishment.
What were your mom's favorite discipline weapon?
I have mom and dad.
Can I just say I was not? I was threatened with monsters. Like, she'd be like, "Oh, this monster's gonna
So
come get you if you're bad."
psychological
Psychological
damage.
warfare. She'd be like, "Oh, this monster's gonna come get you if you do that." I'm like, "The
It's like this.
monster."
They're using superstition as a
Yeah.
way to.
Okay,
Would be-
so
yeah.
mine was the feather duster, but we had a wooden one.
Was it? Oh, I was gonna say the rainbow one.
We had the feather duster, and I think my mom had used a slipper,
Classic.
classic,
Mhm.
and I think
They're
one
all
belt
classics.
one time was a belt.
They're all classic. Yeah.
The belt's terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I've gotten a hanger. I think.
Ooh.
But it's a
Metal.
plastic one.
Oh,
It's a plastic
Okay,
one.
I was
I
like
had a
metal.
metal
Feather duster for sure. Bamboo stick. Metal
say
broom.
like a ruler or something.
Ruler? No.
No,
Metal
okay.
broom I've gotten, and belt. That's the ones I
Belt
remember.
sounds
No.
horrible.
So there's two things first thing the only thing that really scared me was that they would make us hold our hand out and they would hit our hands with the
Oh,
the
spatula.
object.
Forgot I got that too. Yeah, I just remember that. And also slap.
Yeah. So, but like, but for me, it's like apparently my dad said that out of the four of us, I was the one who was smart to hide. Like Matthew would be like, okay. Daniel would just cry, and Silas would just like kind of try to hide behind my dad. But I was the one who just hid in the house. Like she'll be like, come here, and she would like get the feather duster, and I would just run away. I was like hide somewhere. And I was asking my mom and dad if they ever had like thought it was really cute or funny, and they're like, yeah. So we had to be strict with him.
Aw.
But my dad was like, oh, he's so clever.
It's funny.
But my dad never actually. My dad's a very patient guy, so he never really wanted to hit us. But my mom was like, hit him. Yeah.
Get
my dad's
him.
like, no.
yeah. Yeah, I don't. My parents didn't love that either, but I deserved it. Some cases, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, and I mean, there's like laws against it now, so
Mm.
it's very interesting how that works.
Yeah, and there's like technicalities to like where you can do it in disciplining your child as well. Like my girlfriend Becca and I were having a discussion.
Hi, Becca. Sorry.
Hi, Becca. We're having a discussion about like how if we wanted children like in the future, like how would we discipline our children, and like we didn't want to involve that type of thing as well. But the thing is, there might be more psychological pain
Oh.
involved.
The psychological impacts of
Yeah, 'cause you have to bargain, right? Like
Getting
if
your
you say you
child.
don't do this, I'm going to take away something, for example, right? But
Mhm.
like it doesn't always work too. So there's other matters we have to discuss or like deal with in the
Mhm.
future for sure.
I think one of the biggest things, like if I ever have kids, it's I know that I'll say something that might have slipped out of my tongue or is really mean and could psychologically damage them. But I think the most important thing is recognizing your mistake and being able to talk to your child about it. Because I think even though, let's say, they did something wrong, and you can still do something wrong too, right? And I remember as a kid, a lot of the questions I had was, why? Like, why am I being treated this way, or why am I in trouble for doing this thing? And I think that if, my parents did take the time to go, hey, like, this is why we yelled at you, do you understand why? And then I think that really helps, because I still think that I would still see my parents as the authoritative figure, but me going, okay, that's why I did it, that's why I was wrong, then I won't do it again. Or so I don't know. That's kind of how I going through like therapy and all the unraveling of my traumas. A lot of it was just why. Like I never got an explanation, and it's always just be like, because I told you so.
Like
that makes sense.
thinking about my past, I'm pretty sure I actually had an explanation because my mom was like very straight to the point. Like, she wanted to tell me why she was disciplining me.
Mm.
Yes, I had a lot of frustrations with agreeing with it, but my mom and dad were very, at least, willing to explain why I did something wrong or why they were like angry at me, because they didn't want me to like not understand. I think that's something different than where you and I grew up with. Of course, like, I still have some similarities. Like, with sometimes my parents have a difficult time processing their emotions, or like outputting it in a, we'll call it a reasonable way. But reasonable is like different measures for everyone, right? So there's that too.
I have a question for Eliot. Did your parents ever apologize to you?
I was just gonna say that's what I was gonna bring up too.
It depends. Sometimes when I've asked them on certain situations, I have, and they did apologize to me, because it's not like I've asked for an apology or I'm looking for one. It's more like because like eventually I recognized in hindsight that it was like I was all right with what they were trying to do for me, because it was towards a greater good towards the end. Of course, there's a bunch of bumpy holes and like potholes you have to deal with, but or bumpy roads, I should say. But yeah, I have asked them for some of that, but like it's not like I'm constantly looking for that, because I knew they do love me and care for me, but it's just sometimes difficult to understand. If that answers your question.
Yeah, I could go.
Yeah.
I think like both my parents never were people to say sorry. They would just do the classic cut some fruit and give it to me. They never really recognized it, and that was tough for me, because for me it's like I had to recognize the things that I did wrong as a child. I remember growing up thinking like that, but then I'm like, but what you did, that wasn't actually right. Like I especially when I was like maybe high school, university, and being like, that's not actually the right thing to do or the right thing to say or to somebody or whatever. But for me to be like, why didn't you like say anything? For me, I would be the one who apologized to them first. So like even if something I said something that was not called for, I would always be like, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry that I offended you, and I didn't really mean it. Blah blah blah. And they would just be like, okay. But then I'm like, but the reason why I said it was because you also did something that really offended me. And even when my parents were visiting, there was just little moments of like trauma of like the interactions with my parents, and like them saying certain things, or like we had a dinner with their friends, and like for example about like fat shaming, they would literally just like talk about how one of the kids looks fatter and they need to lose weight, and I was just sitting there beside their kid being like, I'm so like just like in my head, I'm so sorry, like because I'm like I have no clue what you're going through. I have no clue. There might be a reason why something's happening to him, but I don't know him. And I remember just being like, just trying to talk to him about other stuff, while his parents just kind of just laughed at it.
Do they speak English at the moment, or Cantonese?
It's all Cantonese.
Does the kid understand Cantonese?
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. Like maybe he would understand.
And so like he was kind of like joking too, but I was like, I bet you that's just the.
How old was the kid?
He's your age.
Oh, it's older.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
At that point, there could be that could be a mature response, and they're okay with like where they are. There's that too.
Yeah.
But
like,
it's a cultural thing.
Yeah.
Too, right?
It is a cultural thing. I remember when I went to Taiwan, like in 2016, I was, or 2014, I don't remember. It's like middle of the 2010s. I knew I was gaining weight. And like, I remember my relatives saying something similar to me, because like I'm able to understand Mandarin and also Taiwanese, right? So I was able to hear what they were trying to say, and they would like tell me that as well. But I'm just like, eventually I got to a breaking point, and I had to tell my mom, like, I know you're telling me that I gotta lose weight, but it doesn't help. Or like my relatives were telling me this, but it doesn't help when you're feeding me food and like giving me food. So I said, like, if you want to tell me that when I'm trying to lose a diet. I'm not here to do that here.
They shove food in your mouth and they have the audacity to call you fat.
they're like, it's like, why are you so fat? But also, are you eating yet? Here, have 3 plates of meat. But then when you get too skinny, they're like, oh, you're too skinny now. Yeah.
Like, gain some weight.
I think the skinny thing is a little bit more concerning for females. I know that's something I've noticed as well. For guys, it's a little bit maybe more accepting, because like guys I think are in the Asian side are more
The beauty
intimidating.
standards lower.
Yeah. No, it's not that. It's like bigger. Bigger is like muscle is not okay. It's like the opposite of North America, right? Sometimes, if you think about
Oh,
it.
okay, yeah. So I remember I saw this this article about Simu
Yes.
how like a lot of like Chinese people really like the more
Elegant.
elegant
Yeah.
and less in your face features.
Mm-hmm.
But he has very strong jawline, like, you know what I mean? I remember being like, okay, like
Yeah, he's Canadian, man.
and he's Canadian
yeah.
too.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's actually really interesting.
Mhm.
I never thought about that.
Yeah,
really.
that's the thing. That's why like the Korean standard and like Taiwan and also Chinese standard is like very similar. Like where you have to be pale. From a Korean side, you maybe apply some makeup, maybe not in Taiwan and China, depending on where you are. Yeah, you have to be skinnier on the skinnier side. And if you're more if you have more muscle mass, like probably less attracted to some people, like because they
Interesting.
just want to look like models in some cases.
That is interesting.
That is really interesting.
But yeah, it's brutal for women in my opinion. The double standard is even worse for women, honestly. It's
We
funny
love
though.
someone who acknowledges it.
Did you find that the judgment was worse when you went back to Taiwan?
Judgment, as in like me being overweight.
Just in general. Because I went to the Philippines when I was maybe in my early teens, and I found that everyone was like quite judgy.
Yes, I think no matter where you go in terms of like Asian cultures, like there is a form of like observation which can come across as judgment. But like it's because they haven't seen you, and that's what they love to just notice the things that have changed or different than them, or like what's their standard, I guess. When I went to Taiwan, it depends, because I was known as a guai guai kid, and we say in like Chinese, which means a good kid. Like I didn't really revolt, or I didn't really do a lot of like naughty things per se, because I was always listening to my parents, right? So that was like one thing like I have different than some other people's. Like some people had freedom in their childhood to like do what they want. For me, I really listened to my parents, and like I tried appeasing them as well, and I didn't want to give them troubles or frustration. So that's why I'm like, sometimes I can be a little bit too rigid or too much of a square in some cases, but then UVic changed me.
UVic.
UVic.
Sorry, I should say Victoria. I'll just blame the city. No, I'm
Victoria.
joking. No, UVic changed. But yes, so I didn't really get that all the time, other than like sometimes in my way. There were other things with like school as well. Like what was I doing? My family is there's a lot of people that are high achievers. Like there's a few doctors within my family as well. Like mostly it's either business or science. That's the two areas of my mom's side of the family. My dad's side's because I don't really talk to them. But I've only known like some of his brothers were like electronic store owner, something like that. I think that's one. That's the oldest brother. I don't know the rest. That's the thing, because I never got to know them. Two of them passed away already, or now three actually. Recently three. So I never knew like what that family focuses on in terms of academic or like career wise. Whereas like everybody's like either in the business field, or you're a doctor, you're a dentist, or you have a business degree or some sort.
Were your parents ever strict or like?
Did they ever
persuade you to
pressure
do a
you? Yeah,
certain-
did they ever pressure you to do anything?
Somewhat yes and no. So they were lenient compared to like, let's say, the absolute meme, where it's like you got to get A's and go like to Ivy League level like that. My parents said like, if you don't go to university, you're going out of the house.
Oh, yeah.
Funny thing is,
The
I went still
ultimatum.
out of the house.
Yeah.
Then I went to school.
Yeah.
I
So that was
listened.
my ultimatum. Yeah. So I still went out of the house, but like I went for school at least, bro. So that it was different. But I also grew a lot too, because then it was at least I was able to learn a lot of things by myself and like how to live by myself. And even though I had a lot of freedom, but at least I was able to mature quite well, like otherwise.
So I relate to you. I think my parents were similar. They just wanted me to get into education, like to like just get a degree, like, and it'll open a lot of doors to whatever. Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in to another episode of RiceWashed. If you'd like to support us in a different way, we have a Patreon. You can become one of our patrons at patreon.com/RiceWashedPodcast, where you can get exclusive access to bonus content and other funny videos. We would also love to hear from you, so make sure to send us a message on Instagram or leave a comment on our posts and videos and let us know what you want to see. We really appreciate all your support. Speaking of you going to Victoria, we talked about this a little bit before we started our episode today, but what were the in terms of the people and I guess personalities or whatnot? Did you ever notice a difference when you came to Victoria?
Apart from all the white people.
I noticed something when I came here.
I was gonna say if I were to notice that because I lived on dorm in UVic for 2 years, so I met quite a different range of people. Where some people were from Alberta, some people were from Vancouver, some people from the island, and some people from maybe Toronto or elsewhere. Actually, I met a few foreigners too, maybe an Australian and maybe some English here and there. So in terms of your question, I didn't know that in the first 2 years because I didn't really know the local people because I knew everybody that was more of a city person. But if I were to compare the two, I say I think we discussed how it was chill. Some people have a different vibe.
It's a chill vibe.
Yeah, because in any city, I think we can all agree on this. You need to have a purpose going somewhere. You can't just walk aimlessly or wherever you like, because or else you'll feel out of place, or else you need to go somewhere. That's usually the thing you're doing in the city. If you're at home, that's one way to do it, but to relax. But you can also go out and relax, right? So there is a purpose in your step when you want to get somewhere. Victoria-wise, it is maybe a little bit slower pace. I will agree with that. In terms of driving as well.
Yeah,
that's another thing. I remember
we don't follow the speed limit because they go under the speed limit.
Supposedly, and this is for the record. Josh follows the laws.
No, very much. A lot of the older folk go 40.
It's very true. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I can see that.
Yeah.
It's how I went to Hawaii. Everybody's chill there. You meet the locals. They're walking in a slower pace. It's chill in the sunlight after they're taking their sweet time driving across the road.
It is that in Victoria, definitely.
Yeah.
Everyone's just kind of.
You do have a higher demographic of seniors.
Yes.
It's the nearly dead and the newlyweds.
That is depressing.
Did you not? Have you never heard that before?
No, not for Victoria ever.
Nearly dead and the newlyweds.
My goodness, new phrase to learn.
Because I was saying that when I moved to Vancouver, I definitely saw a difference in terms of how people help themselves up. In Victoria, everyone's very chill and kind of minds their own business. In a way, minds their own business. But whenever I came here, I definitely was wow, people here generally have more confidence maybe or higher ego than the people in Victoria.
Yeah, Josh, you put it as cockiness.
Yes. No, honestly, I don't know. That's how I
think because it's so different than Victoria. That's why I said I don't see it as cockiness. I see it as confidence because it's more we know where we're going. If I'm on the street, I know where I'm going. But another thing too, I also have a resting bitch face. That's something I cannot deny. So there's that too. I don't know if you guys have that.
I don't think
you know how
I have one when I'm a teacher.
You're a teacher, right?
Your teaching face.
I learned.
Yes.
No, my teaching face.
Yes. So there's that too.
Yeah. I don't know. I always it was felt, and then when I went back to Victoria, I think that was more when it was more apparent to me. I was wow, the people here are generally people in Victoria are nicer. They would be willing to talk to you and help you out. That's what I felt, anyways. But
How dare you? That's fine. It's probably true. But once again, sometimes when you're on a bus or a car, you don't see that.
Yeah.
There's that too. I don't know. Do you find a difference, Catherine? Because you.
When I come visit, I notice there is a difference.
Do they? Okay, so in Victoria, when you get off the bus, you say thank you.
I do that too.
Do they do that here in Vancouver?
I try to do that.
No, I mean not you. You're a
good
kid.
Not as much.
Yeah, I'm a good kid. I'm a quiet kid.
But here, I remember just not really hearing it that
not
much.
As much.
No, I don't think so.
I said thank you to the SkyTrain ones.
Thank you.
I was wait.
I don't do it for the SkyTrain because it's automated.
No, that was just me being oh, sorry. That's weird. I'm talking to nobody.
I still do it here in Vancouver, but I don't think generally people do it in Vancouver. So. I don't know. I remember people doing it when I was a kid though. People would say thank you. That's why I did it also in Victoria as well.
And the reason why I say there's a different vibe here is because most people that I meet here have always told me that I'm very nice and very chill.
Or you're just quiet.
Oh.
But also true. Also true. But it's true. I feel like I'm a pretty chill person.
Yeah.
I don't care much. Maybe that's a bad thing too.
You can be opinionated at times.
I'm opinionated, but
when it matters. Yeah.
When it matters. Okay.
When it matters.
Fair.
Yeah.
There's something else that we want to talk about. Oh, we wanted to talk about the high school experience because it's very different compared to being not the minority in Vancouver versus here. And we kind of how we connected that to racism, because I think we talked about this in another episode, but I never really felt it much. But Kathleen grew up in a town that didn't have a lot of Filipinos specifically either, right?
I grew up with a lot of Filipinos, but it was when I moved to Victoria and like first went to high school, there were not a lot of Asians, and so I thought that was weird, but it was fine. I still didn't really feel any different. But yeah.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh.
We're like
Me? Yes, so as I said before, like my elementary school was like, I'm pretty sure like 99 or 95% Asian.
Wow.
And then Churchill was maybe like 80-20 or 70-30. And that's the 30 was like either Caucasian or other ethnicities. But yes, I remember like being constantly surrounded by different Asian folks. So like I had Cantonese, I had Chinese. There was some Taiwanese as well, but the dominant two ethnicities for Asian wise was definitely, or actually I should say three, was Indian, Chinese, or Cantonese. Those were the three. And I usually hung out with like a mixed group of like Cantonese people, but also there was one Japanese guy in there, and also some Chinese people as well, so or Taiwanese, I guess, too. But I remember being the dominant language. It was English and Cantonese at times. So that was my experience. But like, I also didn't. I stuck to like mainly one group of school friends then, but I also intermingled with some other people as well that only spoke English as well, and we were all basically Asians. Like you see many Caucasians like in the French immersion side. Like, so that was something because because we're a large school, we have French immersion, IB, we have like regulars, as I will call myself, and also ESL. Yes, I'm regular. There's nothing special about us, just regular. I think that was the 4 different programs at least we had, and then I think there was a pre-IB program that's grade 10, but IB usually was grade 11 to 12. But yeah, so they were basically. I don't remember having like a lot of Caucasian friends, but I did have some because like we still had PE or English together or French in some cases where like those students would be intermingling with us because like you don't have like a French immersion PE where they speak only in French and PE. That doesn't work the same way.
I'm just thinking about our school. It was definitely less Asian, but our friend group was a mix, like a complete mix.
It was a mix.
What was like the ratio?
I think it was pretty like 50-50.
So like
in our friend group for
like
sure.
Asian and Caucasian.
I think school wise it probably was like what 60-40, 70-30.
That's pretty
probably
big,
like
so.
70-30.
Yeah, because there was actually a decent amount of Asians.
We did have quite a bit of international students, but they kept to themselves a lot.
Oh yeah, I forgot that group.
Yeah.
That's another clique too. Like, there's a Korean one and there's a Chinese one and there's like a Cantonese one too. Oh, there's so many cliques.
Yeah.
They all stayed in the multi-purpose room. We called it. Yeah.
Multi-purpose room.
That's what that room was.
It was like
called,
a
the
spare
multi-purpose
room, and they all just like hung out in there.
So just international.
international.
No, you walk in and it's just all Asians.
Okay,
Yeah.
United Asians Nations or something room.
But I don't think because of that, like I didn't even going to university, coming here, I never really felt out of place at all. Because
Yeah.
I think we grew up with just so many different people.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Like if you went to UBC or SFU, you would see like honestly Asians like
Mhm.
everywhere. Like it's so different than Victoria,
Mm-hmm.
and that's especially UVic where like majority of people are Caucasians, and yeah, that's just something that's massively different there.
Okay, although I didn't feel weird and out of place ever, but I remember when I'm doing freedom session, right? But my whole group is all Caucasian. That was weird to me because usually I'm at least with like 1 or 2 other Asian people.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I first started, I'm just like, oh, this is so weird, and then now it's fine. We're besties now.
At least,
Yeah.
because you're able to connect with them. And at least you have a common language.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you're like with different cultures and foreigners, like it's hard to connect with some people because they don't know the lingo, or they have difficulty like opening up because they don't have English as their, I guess like they're fluent with it.
I think it's mostly for me. It's more the cultural difference because I think I would mention something about my life and they wouldn't understand like that. For example, like family dynamics or
Yeah.
how we are raised.
I can see that. Yeah, that's something different for sure, especially within a Caucasian family.
Mm-hmm.
That's currently right now, right? That
Yeah.
freedom session? Oh, okay. That makes
But
sense.
isn't like for me cool to hear about their stories and their background, how they grew up, and how it's very different from mine, and for them to be like, oh wow, like that's really strict, or like it's actually really harsh, or
Are they the same age?
no, they're all wiser than I am by a good like 15 years.
Oh,
So I'm the
it's
youngest.
like a different generation
that is-
almost
Like,
too.
actually, yeah, and that was I think also why I was scared.
Yeah.
because they were older.
Yeah.
And like maybe we won't connect as well, but they like were like actually funny enough. Tomorrow we were meeting and we're doing our leader had asked us to bring a picture of us when we were younger, and I was like, can I bring
Aw.
a picture of me now? And they're like, no.
Oh.
Well, okay.
You can probably play it off.
Yeah.
Because you probably looked.
Yeah. This is me when I was 12 now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But going back to the racism topic,
Mhm.
I don't know if you guys experienced racism, but like I don't think I've really experienced it here in Vancouver because we were the majority like of Asians in Vancouver. But because of the pandemic,
Ooh. Yeah.
Ooh.
yeah, that's really touchy. Like I haven't really experienced it as much, but my parents have, and that's something that I wasn't expecting. And sometimes like I've only seen it maybe once or twice where my mom was pushed purposely. Like the person didn't get out of her way and like just purposely pushed her to the side. And the thing is, because my mom has cancer, she's a little bit more weaker. So like she stumbles a little bit, but she doesn't stumble immediately to the ground. But it's just harder for her to gain her balance. So there's that. But I've experienced racism like elsewhere in the world, but not in Canada. But like another thing too is that everybody kind of hides it underneath in Canada. That's the thing, right? Where it's like it's
a little more systemic.
yeah, it's like it's not just only that. It's also like you can call it like it's polite racism too, right? We can also argue about that. Like, oh, you're Chinese, you play ping pong. There's that.
Yes.
There's that statement,
It's
right?
the subtle jabs.
Yeah, it's like those statements, right?
Yeah.
Or like you're Asian, you're gonna get an Asian glow when you drink, which is not wrong. For
Asian,
me.
you probably got
Yeah.
an A in math because you're Asian.
Yeah.
only
I
until
did.
only until grade 7.
Yeah. And then
It went downhill for me. from
Yeah.
there.
I know that the first time I like experienced racism was probably when I went to Guatemala, but it wasn't even aggressive. It was just like, haha, Chino, which is Chinese person. But then it was around pandemic, so like COVID, and we're like, ah, but they were still like, how are you? Like they were still like laughing with us.
Yeah.
But because at that time it wasn't a huge deal, right? But then I remember when pandemic hit and I came back here, I remember like experiencing it like 3 times, and I've never experienced it in my life.
Right.
Like example was like it could have been just like coincidence, but it just made too much sense that it was just towards me specifically. Like one time I was walking on the sidewalk, and there was a Caucasian person in front of me walking this way, and this Caucasian person walking this way. So they were like, "Hey, how's it going?" And then they got by me, and they put their mask on, and then they walked past. And I looked behind just to see, and they took the mask off. And I was like, I had my
Oh.
mask on the entire time, right? And then another time was I was in the elevator, similar idea, where there's like 3 Caucasian people, they're all fine, and then when I entered, they all put their masks on.
Yeah.
That's tricky because it
Yeah.
could be coincidence
Exactly.
or.
Yeah. There's like a couple ways of reading that. It's like either they're putting it on respect because like you're doing it, or they're doing it just because like they're afraid of like your ethnicity.
Yeah.
But it's like for me, it's more of like seeing for the elevator. For example, it was a little, kind of I didn't really know if it was, but the fact that one person left and they still didn't have the mask on until I came back. You know what I mean? So it's probably hard to say if it was, but I remember definitely feeling the different energy towards me.
Yeah, that's why it's like it's difficult to read that situation, but I feel like it's the worst, like as you would think.
Yeah, I feel like the pandemic kind of like aggravated it. You're like almost more aware
Yeah.
of it.
I
now.
think, and like I think even in Victoria, although like I never really felt it in Victoria, I definitely see things differently, and especially during the pandemic with masks and everything. Like people from Victoria that didn't wear them, like even before the mask mandate was off. And I remember being like, "Oh, this is so interesting." Like if I was in Victoria at the time, I don't know if I would have noticed it if I just stayed there.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to give an eye glare, and like if they're not wearing their mask, or like if they're too close to you, it's just like,
look back. Like,
hello, there's a sticker.
You know what? It's like I feel like because I have my mask on, and you have your mask on, we don't have your resting face to really help you know.
Oh, I
Yeah.
stare hard. I stare intently.
The stink eye.
I like not just a stink eye. I actually stare intently because like I can also like bring down my eyebrows as well. So there's that too. Yeah. So like it still works because like
Yeah.
I'm also staring at like moment. I'll constantly be looking back. I've had that one time where it's just like the person was like right behind, and we weren't vaccinated at this time.
Yeah.
Right? Like this was last year. And I'm just like, hello. I didn't verbally say this, but like I'm constantly looking back.
Yeah.
It's like you not mind. Like, and we had to tell people to back off a bit too, because like if you didn't want to wear your mask, I'm asking you at least go 6 feet.
Yeah.
There was that moment too.
I think the first thing for me about that whole situation is more of like, although we don't like, there's still theories and talks about where it originated from. Like, why is like scientifically, it doesn't make sense that you're just singling out one race, because that's not how sicknesses work.
All
Mhm.
Asians are connected to Genghis Khan.
Right? But like, it just first frustrates me because I'm like, no, it's just we're all literally human beings. We just all grew up in different cultures
Yeah.
and ethnicities, and we're just unfortunately the ones who discovered it. Boom. We're the ones who discovered it.
There's so many conspiracy theories.
So many
conspiracy
I'm not going to get into that.
Yeah,
That's
we're not
not-
gonna talk about this on this podcast. It's too much.
Yeah, that's another whole nother topic, and I don't even want to get into because we don't really know the truth unless we went there, right?
Mhm.
And, like,
I'm really interested of how they write about the whole pandemic in history books.
Right.
well, wait till they talk about memes.
Oh,
Yeah,
And
there's
all
a
the
history of
lingo.
memes. There's a history of memes already, like in a course, like in some university somewhere out there.
Oh my
Like,
gosh, it's making me feel old.
yeah.
Oh no.
feels silly because like that specific course was like done when memes started coming out. It was like relatively new. Memes
Oh.
were like it was like in the middle 2010s. That's when it came out, that course. But like I
What's
don't know what's
funny is that I don't remember, like, memes were not really a huge thing when we were in high school.
Mm-mm.
It was, I think, university when it like blew up.
Yeah, I feel like
agree
it
with
was
that.
more like YouTube videos
Yeah.
that were bigger.
Yep.
That kind of turned into
Yeah.
memes.
Oh, for me, I learned memes through 9gag. That's
Ah,
that's how I
9gag.
learned about it.
Yeah.
So that's how I learned memes and like what they were. So that's why I love like the old Stickman or the troll face. Like those
Classic
ones.
troll
The
face.
rage face guy too. That's another one I love too.
The troll face.
Yeah.
Classic memes. What are some of your favorite memes?
My current one of my favorite ones is like the cat, the correcting cat or whatever. Like where like one lady's screaming, like she's like, "It's supposed to be this," and the cat's like,
the
"No,
cat's
it's
face
this."
was just like.
Yeah, it's just going like, "Now it's this."
Mine is the one with the girl. So the idea was she was trying kombucha, and she was just like, "Oh, this I really like this." Like, "Oh, maybe not." Oh, ooh, I
Oh
really
yeah,
like
the
that.
one, yeah, that's a good one too. Yeah. There's just like it's like K drama is really long, but there's like 20 episodes.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Catherine, do you
For
have
me,
a favorite
I can
meme?
only think of like TikTok trends. What are they?
Are you into
Just
the?
the sounds
Are you
and
into
stuff.
the
Are you on
TikTok?
TikTok?
No, I do not have a lot of social media. I
Oh.
only have Facebook.
Oh, yeah, it's true.
And
It's true.
Snapchat. Don't add me, please. Oh.
If you try, he won't be on there.
I think
Well,
that's
I
why.
will be on there.
Yeah, you will be on there. I think that's why like TikTok is so popular because it's so like just short little funny little like it's just like when you read a meme, it's like 3 seconds or 4 seconds or whatever, 5
Mhm.
seconds. Yeah.
So
Good
what
times.
TikToks are you? Because like Facebook has basically all the Instagram reels as well. Because Facebook is kind of the
Yeah.
Instagram, right? So they also have TikTok as well. When I
They're
stream
more
it.
like sounds.
Yeah.
Which ones?
Oh.
Like
That's
for
super
example, the
popular right
song "We
now.
Don't Talk About Bruno" is now ruined because of that TikTok trend.
Oh, that
Right.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just recently watched that movie.
Oh, did you like it?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I generally like all Pixar movies.
Wait,
Did
did you watch
Did it
Turning
trigger?
Red?
Did it trigger you at all?
I haven't watched Turning Red yet.
Oh, you should watch it.
I need to. Yes.
Did Encanto trigger you at all?
Yes, I did not enjoy the grandmother character at all. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
It triggered me too.
Yeah.
I was like looking at the names too, and I was just like, Maribel. It sounds like miracle.
Yeah.
Like, is this not
Ah.
a spoiler here? I'm sorry, foreshadowing. Excuse me.
Did you watch Everything Everywhere All at Once?
I have not.
Okay. It triggered me so bad that I teared up a lot.
Oh no.
And I don't cry at things.
Uh,
You should watch it.
You said that before, but I'm hearing you cry at something when you.
No, that was because I was watching the K drama that made me
Yeah.
think about Susan. That was a different thing.
39.
You should watch it.
Oh no.
He only recommends sad things.
No, honestly, you should watch this sad anime with me.
Why, you don't cry? Is that what happens?
No,
I'm thinking-
literally, there. I'll cry and I just sit there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think I remember hearing this. Like, you do not cry. Wow, this is a really sad moment.
Do you remember we watched Anohana and Christina's
Anohana.
theater thing, and
Yeah.
then you were all
I
crying
was
and
like,
sat there?
And then Graveyard of the Fireflies too.
Oh,
I haven't watched that one, but
That one was sad as well.
yeah, I figured that it was sad because
it hits harder if you have a sibling.
Oh, so
Younger,
I can see
younger
that, I can see
sibling.
that. I can see that,
Younger
yeah.
sibling.
Yeah.
I can see that, especially
Yeah.
because the movie poster too, right?
Yeah.
Because it's supposed to have a double meaning where it's like one is about fireflies, and if you flip it or like a different lighting, is that how it works?
Yeah, if you like darken it, you can see like an outline of a plane.
You see all the B2
And, like,
bombers
the-
from
yeah, the bombs falling.
because of World War II.
Mhm.
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay.
I can talk about anime all day long. Too.
I know.
That'll be another episode.
Yeah, I mean, I think you should watch Turning Red and I don't know if it's Everything or Everywhere, whatever, all at once, because that movie really triggered a lot of things for me, like
really?
my upbringing and other stuff. Yeah.
I'm also wanting to watch the Batman. I do not have time for
with
that.
Robert Pattinson, the new
Yes,
one?
it's
I
3
heard
hours.
it's good.
Yeah,
I heard
it's
that
long.
too. So and I am a Batman fan as well. I just wasn't sure how good this one was going to turn out.
I've been hearing mixed reviews from the people that my friends have watched it. They're
Oh.
like, yeah, it's good, but and
I've been hearing mostly good.
yeah.
That's what I've been hearing.
Mhm.
I was a little skeptical because of like how there was some like dramas surrounding it too, like how Robert Pattinson apparently didn't want to work out for the role. Like
Oh.
he just wanted to be a skinnier Batman, but like I don't really know what was the whole deal around it. But yeah,
Huh.
Batman.
Batman.
The Batman. Anyways, I think that is our episode for today. Before we leave, Eliot, would you like to leave a review for our podcast as our #1 fan?
Wow, I have all this power.
He has so much power, but Eliot, honestly, he's the one who always tells us we're doing a good job, and or if the audio has a high pitched noise that I can't hear because I have permanent hearing loss. So thank you for telling me.
I have rated you guys on Spotify.
Thank
so
you.
5 stars.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a feature, so I did that right away.
Well, there's also questionnaires on the Spotify that I put on just for fun, so you should answer those.
Where are they? So just to let
I don't know. It's just on the Anchor thing that we use, and I just type questions there.
No one's gonna find it because no one knows.
Yeah.
Well, if you find it, please let us know. Well, yeah, Eliot, thanks so much for coming on today. It's nice to get to know you a little more.
Mhm.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the episode with our friend, #1 fan, and listener, Eliot. If you want to hear more episodes with him, let us know. And while you're at it, let us know what else you want to hear. We want to hear from you.